Another session of the Business Renovator. I'm Coach Phil, or Phil Jilks. I'm quite excited to have one of my peers from our company, FocalPoint, to be a guest with me today. And we're going to talk about some things around clarity, dexterity, and prosperity. But before I bring on our guest, I want to bring on Brian's book. Brian Monahan is the curator and author of this particular book, Customer Delight 365. And the quote we have today is by Stephen Covey. On his quote, he says, "The undisciplined are slaves to moods, appetites, and passions." Brian's take on that is your business needs to be disciplined in infusing delight in your employees. What is your plan to create smiling, happy employees? Oh, you don't have a plan? Fail to plan for delight, fail to delight. Idea, ask every employee in your organization to read from Customer Delight 365 daily. One of the quotes. This takes discipline, but I promise you, a common mantra for delight will change your organization and business in ways you can never imagine. That Brian guy, he's full of wisdom. Absolutely full of wisdom. So now I'm going to bring on Eric. Good morning, Eric. Welcome to the Business Renovator.
Well, thank you, Phil. Happy to be here.
Before I jump into having a conversation with you, I thought we should introduce you a little bit. So Eric, as I mentioned before, is part of FocalPoint International, where I am as well. His focus is with clients as a business coach, trainer, and group facilitator, is on developing clarity, dexterity, and prosperity. He does so by helping business owners address their unique challenges and with solutions that stick. Eric is married to his lovely wife, Patty, and they have a precocious 10-year-old daughter. They reside in the beautiful Bay Area of California. And as I said, welcome. So you had a success today. This week. That's brilliant. You brought on a new client. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Yes, it's always fun.
So what's it like in a day of the life of a FocalPoint business coach, or a business coach in general? Because you're not new to business coaching at all, are you?
No, I've been doing it for a long time. What's it like in a day? Well, I try to get into an amazing state every day. So I find that getting up an hour earlier than I really have to is the way to do it. So I usually work out in the morning and I have very bold coffee. And then I focus on my agenda for the day and who I'm going to be for people and get into my purpose. And then I get really focused about what my intentions are for the day. And I try to get into flow.
Yeah. But that flow state is a wonderful place to be when we can get there, isn't it?
Oh, it is pure magic when you're in flow. You don't have to overthink anything. It's really about presence, I think. It's just, finding this fifth gear where you're not, you've settled into a overdrive and it's not hard work and you're just cruising.
Yeah.
Hey.
There's a book on flow, and I can never pronounce the author's name. It has way too many vowels and syllables in it, excuse me, for me to be able to say it, but it's a brilliant book on flow. Are you familiar with it?
I have it back there, yeah.
Oh, perfect.
That's my library of coaching and business development resources for the most part. I can't think of the author's name either, but I know the book.
Even if I could think of it, I can't say it. It's just really long. It doesn't flow for me.
There you go, right? Yeah.
But his book is great.
Yeah.
The book is great. And what I find is when I get into that state of flow that you're referring to, and it's not necessarily a good thing to do on a consistent basis, but I have this incredible energy. And I don't need as much sleep. I don't need to eat as much. Now, the downside of that is if you don't pay attention to that, you can have health issues, I think. Not being a doctor, but I don't think that's a healthy thing to stay in a state of flow where we don't nurture our body. What do you think?
Well, I kind of think of flow as like surfing. I surfed for decades, and when the waves are good, you ride them, and because they're not always going to be there. So your energy, your focus, all those types of things that combine to create this flow, this energy, this like sense of drive, and you're getting stuff done. It doesn't last forever. And as I've gotten older, I just ride it as long as I can. And then when it's gone, I'm okay with it. I go off and do other things and just recognize that I don't need to keep beating the dead horse. It's good, you know, so it's just recognizing that those opportunities when they come along.
Yeah, totally. I don't surf because I don't have an ocean nearby. But I had never thought of it that way. That's brilliant. It paints quite a picture, because I have been to the West Coast, the U.S., California specifically. One of the places I like to hang out with when we're able to travel is in the San Diego area. And I've watched many people that are surfers and enjoyed it vicariously by watching them. And you're right, the waves aren't always there. And you can see them in a mad dash at a certain time of day to get the wave, right?
Right.
Because you can't do it all day long, apparently.
No, and it's fun to, and that's actually how you learn how to surf, is you watch others. And I think there's a metaphor there with business development. You learn from others and you watch what works and you incorporate it into your approach. But it is kind of funny to watch surfers who are out in the water and there's no waves. I mean, yeah, it's great to be out there and have water on you and the sun shining, but you're not going to catch any rides, or the wave quality is gone. So move on and do something else with your day that's equally as fulfilling or purposeful.
Have you ever heard about the fly analogy? About, it's not so much about flow, but it kind of ties in with what you're saying. And I imagine people sitting on a board waiting for the waves to show up, and they're never going to show up at that time where they're there. So to your point, they should be doing something different. So made me think of the fly example. A fly is in your home, in your office somewhere, and you hear it buzzing around. It's on glass. It's trying to get out, and it bashes itself, and it's trying hard, sitting on that board, like you say, is a wave, waiting for a wave to show up, waiting for a crack in the glass to happen so that it can sneak through. Never happens. They end up, we sweep them off the windowsill because they've crashed and burned. Whereas if they had just taken the easy route, got into a state of flow perhaps, and the door was open or another window was open, they didn't have it had a screen that was broken, they could just fly through there. So one of the things I found in the coaching space is what I've been able to do, and my peers have been able to do with their clients, is to help people stop being that fly and find an easier way to get there. We become compressors of abundance, success, and happiness. Have you found anything similar in your experience like that?
Well, yeah, absolutely. So, often like helping coach, as a coach, helping your client get unstuck and find the right direction is really that whole thing about, clarity. Like, what are you doing and how are you doing it? But why are you doing it? Does it link up to the next thing that's bigger, that's purposeful, that, the goal, if you want, So a lot of times people will spend an inordinate amount of time doing things that aren't really that necessary. They could delegate it, or they could stop and talk about it and figure it out in a better way. But yeah, I think coaches are all about helping people find their flow and their direction on a regular basis so that they can unfold their business, take it to another level.
Yeah, I totally agree with you in that aspect. We in my experience, and I'm assuming it was similar to yours, is we don't become emotionally attached to the business like the owner running the business may have. So we're able to provide a more objective viewpoint and see things that, it's the blinding flash of the obvious. It's right there, the constraint or the opportunity. They can't see it, kind of like that fly example. And we help them, to your first point, find the clarity in their business and the consistency of staying on track to where they said they want to go. Because I don't care what their goals are, as long as they're legal and morally sound. I really don't care, because they're their goals. What I do care, though, is that they're staying congruent with what they said they wanted to do. And that's why you and I are there. We're not there to be their best friends. They probably have lots of great best friends. We're there to be that person who gives them, a smack in the attitude and a high five when they need it. Because, being at the top sometimes can be a lonely place.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to where you started this last section here about subjectivity versus objectivity.
Yeah.
I'm not there in their business every minute, with everybody, with everything. So I don't have this real subjective tie to it all, which I actually find very freeing. And so I pre-frame my clients when I onboard them, and as we continue to refine our relationship, that my role is to be objective and look at all perspectives, all possibilities, and help them examine that and get them unstuck, really. And again, that's the whole clarity thing, which often leads to the dexterity, helping them become more nimble and look at their different choices and options and action items, really, which creates that next connection to where they want to go, which creates that dexterity, which frees them up. A good example of that the other day was I just impromptu checked in on a client of mine at noon just to check in. And he goes, well, that's pretty serendipitous. You called right at the right time. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And he told me exactly what he was facing, and he was pretty stuck with it. And I said, what if we could solve this in 15 minutes? He goes, that would be great. So we went right into it, peeled away the layers, and at the end of the 15 minutes, he's like, my God, that was great. And I'm like, did you get what you wanted? He's like, yeah, thank you so much. I'm like, all right, I'll talk to you later. And sometimes just having that person who's objective, who doesn't have all that emotional connection and day-to-day nuances of relationship with everybody, it's very freeing. And people love that for the most part.
Yeah, they do love that. And you know what? The other thing is, I noticed you love it too. Your face lit up. And I totally get what that's all about.
Yeah.
That's why I do what I do. It's the light bulb moments that people like I get to work with, that they have, that cranks me up. Yeah, I get paid for this. The money's nice, but the money's second. That moment, that expression you shared with us just a few seconds ago, that's the MasterCard moment, right? It's priceless.
Yeah. Well, that's a wave. You're riding that wave, and you get to the shore, and you're like, accomplished, and then you back out, you paddle back out. So yeah, it's very gratifying. It's my purpose and my mission. It's what I love to do, and that's why I do what I do. I mean, I love being a servant leader and helping people truly get to where they want to go.
Yeah, I totally on board with you on the same point of view. I do as the ticker tape is showing. It's not talking. It can't talk. We talk. It's saying sales, marketing, and mindset, which is really what the Business Renovator is all about. And a lot of what I do is in the sales and the marketing side. And of course, there's people involved, and the mindset's a really big part of it. Do you find, as a business coach, that people are open to the mindset aspect of it? Are they more into they want to know how, they want to know the logical step-by-step, paint by number?
Yeah. Well, I'm really into pre-framing people, like just stating intentions and outcomes. So I pre-frame that kind of stuff, that it's be, do, have.
Yeah.
And predominantly in modern business and modern culture, most people come from have, do, be. Right? Just give me what I need. Just give me it, and then I'll do what you want me to do, and maybe I'll be the way you're talking about, right?
Yeah. And
it doesn't work that way. Just like your sales marketing mindset, it all starts with mindset first. You have to know your outcome. So who do you need to be? What kind of mindset do you need to have? What's your attitude? Because we all know that in the business world, it's 85% attitude. And then you attach the what and the how. So when I think of mindset, it's like, really, what's my purpose today? Why am I doing these things? Who do I need to connect with? And what's the intention there? What's the outcome? It's very purposeful stuff. And then I back it up to like sales and marketing. For me, sales is all about influence. That's really what sales is. And I break down that word to be what it really is. Are you in fluency with people? Are you in fluency with your product and what you offer? Or is your value proposition really not that great? Do you not connect with people on a level that emotionally they connect with? Because people buy why you do what you do. The why is the emotional part, that part of your limbic region in your brain where it's a magnet to people. And then marketing is everything. It's internal and external. So, how do you show up and what's your surrounding and your business look like and the people in it. That's the internal part of it, your message. And then the external part of it is, what's out there in the community? What's the story about you and your business? And you have to know how to manage both of those. So that's where that mindset comes in to me.
Yeah, no, that's well said. I don't think I could say it as succinctly as you did this morning.
That's because I got up an hour before you, Phil. That's what you
Is that possible? You're in the Pacific time zone. That could be possible. I'd already been talking to Atlanta this morning. I was talking to one of our friends down there.
Coast to coast.
Yeah. That was. He's one of us as well. He's one of the area developers in that region, and he creates our newsletter. So one of the things that came to mind when we were talking is Brian Tracy, who a lot of our content comes from, says there's not enough time in a lifetime to learn everything from ground zero, from scratch. And he's a big fan of leveraging people, resources, knowledge, money, and systems. And I think that's one of the keys to having a business coach in your back pocket, is to help you leverage the resources, knowledge, and expertise to keep you on track to where you want to go. Do you think that's accurate, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, starting from ground zero, that can take a long time. I mean, you have to understand what their foundation is with something before you move on, but I don't think you need to dissect it. One of my coaching mindsets is people are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. So people are very creative and they're very resourceful. And if they're not, it's because they're in an unresourceful state. There's no lack of resources. There's tons of resources. And then they're whole. They're not broken. So it's just getting real clear as to where they want to start and what's important about that. And then starting from there, leveraging that. Most people are incredibly intelligent and resourceful. So it's just figuring out that part of the journey that they're on, that gap, if you will, in the journey, and then starting from there and leveraging that.
So what I know we've probably talked a little bit about it, but make sure that there's clarity in it, because I don't want to. You have 3 great words there. Can you expand on dexterity and how that shows up and what that means to you?
Yeah. Well, dexterity to me means, again, that's that whole resourcefulness. You have these incredible tools at your, they're all laid out there. It's in your toolbox. And when I think of dexterity, it's nimbleness. It's knowing what tool to use and how to apply it, and to get the intended result that you want. So getting out of your comfort zone, applying new strategy, and then the tactics. A lot of people just go right into the tactics. If they're really clear on the strategy and how that serves their mission and where they want to go, then the tactics fall in line. And that's the dexterity. A lot of times people will fall into that founder's trap, that they've been in their business for a while, perhaps, just to use that example. And they've taken their business as far as they can go based on their mindset, based on their skill set. And so you have to look at the resources that they have available, whether it's human resources that they currently have or don't have, what's lacking. And then what are those tools? What are those resources that are applicable to help them get there, whether it's technology. And I think in today's world, technology is a big part of that. So you're creating dexterity, their ability to be more nimble and apply things quicker and to a better end. So for me, the dexterity part's huge, because once you get really clear on what you want and why you want it, then you have to really go into your toolbox. And sometimes you have to help people use a new tool. You and I are both like digital immigrants. We're not digital natives. We didn't grow up with computers and all that. My daughter is actually more nimble on a computer in some ways than I am. She's 10 years old.
Yeah.
She's just digitally encoded to think differently. Now, you and I have both become much more nimble and dexterous with technology as we've gotten older, because it's a necessity. But some people just stay really in a tight box when it comes to technology. And once they learn technology, it creates that dexterity that they need.
It's interesting. I have a real live example of that. Yesterday, I was running a training session for 4 hours, and I have a bunch of technology, and some of it's really good, and some of it's not as good. And so the laptop we're running this live stream on is pretty darn good. And early on, I didn't have this particular laptop. I was using the earlier one. And I looked like a spaghetti Western when I was running one of these live streams. But what's happening was the voice was going and the lips were trying to catch up, or vice versa. And so I was was one of my coaches and around doing video live streaming pointed that out, said that's not a good experience for your audience. So knowing that, and knowing what I was going to be doing with Zoom, the platform I used to do my training on yesterday for 4 hours, I was panicking because I didn't have the ability with the technology that I have to add an extra screen. But I had no more time. There was a constraint on time. I needed to get ready to deliver the training virtually to a group of 32 people and make it interactive for them. And much to my amazement, I did it all on one screen, one laptop, and no other pieces of technology. And I meant to take a picture. I meant to take a picture of the war room that I'm sitting in, because it's quite different now than it was yesterday. I MacGyvered my space. I had to hold the laptop into place. I've got it on top of binders wrapped with some packing tape to make sure that the mouse is where it needs to be, so I'm not getting off a camera too much. I jerry-rigged a shelf with some books and another box on top of it, but you don't see any of that. I wanted to make the experience for the viewer the best it could be for them. And it went off with, well, only a few minor hiccups, but that wasn't technology. That was me not understanding some of the aspects of what Zoom was doing. Anyway, once we got through the first part, and it really pointed out the value of doing things live. The VP of the company is in on these trainings as well, and he was very supportive. He says, that's one of the benefits. He says, as much as we appreciate the fact that we've got the ability to do these trainings virtually, because they're spread out all over Western Canada, what was really interesting was his recognizing that the value. He said, you know what, if we were live and in person, we'd say, okay, the first 4 here, the next 4 there, you go into one group, you go into another group, and it's done. With virtual environment, I needed to sit there and find the right people to put them in the right group. Yeah. It took a little bit of time, and it's not as much fun. But he did do some. He jumped in and filled the dead airspace. So, but I'm really proud to say that this little laptop delivered to 32 people a huge value for them in a way that blew me away. So, dexterity.
Yeah, I love that story. That's a great story, and I'm always thinking about like the qualities of leadership. You're clearly an amazing leader. There's a lot of qualities of leadership, and one is just courageousness. And my definition of courageousness is moving forward, even when you don't even always know all the X's and O's or the plan, and just being nimble in the moment, and just moving forward, because that energy will create the outcome that you want. And if people know your intentions, there's this incredible bandwidth for people knowing that you have good intentions and that you're trying to deliver something of quality, and you're okay if it's not perfect. And I think a lot of people are really tripped up by being perfect. I've battled that whole perfection thing many times in my life, and as I've evolved and become more just emotionally aware of it, I just move forward faster. You don't always have to know exactly what you're going to do. Just have the right intentions and do your best, and you just go farther faster. And that's business, I think.
We talked about that yesterday in the training. The VP jumped in and shared some of his knowledge and supported that. And he was encouraging his team to take this training opportunity to jump in, be uncomfortable here rather than out in the field, where it has more of an impact to them psychologically and financially, because they may not make as many sales. So it's like any athlete, whether it be a team or individual, the best place to practice is on the practice field or in the court, not out in the street. And one of the things that's challenging for people in the sales business is not a lot of companies provide them with the opportunity to practice their craft, or in a way that makes sense. So these guys are really open to that concept, and the VP's vision around that, elevating the game for all of his team is I'm grateful to be the guy who helps them facilitate that experience.
Well, I love what you just said about the grateful part, because that whole mindset that you work on with people and that I do, it's that attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that you have to do something, it's that you get to.
Yeah.
You chose to be in this profession. You chose sales, to use your example. You get to do this.
Yeah.
And how incredible is that? What are you grateful for, that you get to go out and work with people all day and help deliver something that's of high value? They just don't know it yet. You know, and one of the things I often tell people, and I really truly believe this, is everybody is my friend. I just haven't gotten to know them yet.
I love that. That's a great statement. I want to segue into your third part of the headline, and that's prosperity. I'll get you to talk about that, because it's your headline. I really like the headline. That's why I didn't change it. It was good.
Yeah, well, you know, there's lots of definitions for prosperity, and I have my definitions in different contexts as others do. But, you know, prosperity is ultimately ringing the bell. You're getting what you want. And if it's attached to why you want it, you know, what you value. And I think values are a big part of that, right? You're living a prosperous life when you're living your values. And I like to break down values into the definition of emotional beliefs. You have an attachment to your belief system that's emotional. And when you get that ringing the bell because you're living your values, you're prosperous. And I usually find that the money comes, the growth comes in the business, with the people, with the owner, with customers, when you're living your values. And it's just undeniable how great that feels on a day-to-day basis. So prosperity is huge. You know, there's lots of ways to attach it. It's like, what is your goal? Most people think of it in that context, like, what's your goal, and if you get it. So often people attach money to a goal. But, you know, money is not a value. Money's a means to an end. So the values that you're living on a day-to-day basis will lead you to the money if they're aligned with your purpose. I hope that makes sense. That's the way I think of prosperity.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And I just put this up there because we're in the business of working human to human, not business to business or business to consumer. All of them have people in it, and people are human, aren't they? I just think that's brilliant. H2H.
Yeah.
Let me get rid of that one. I want to go back up to here and acknowledge a couple of people that popped in. These are a couple of people I met just over a year ago because of the changes in our world. I was looking for ways to reach out, meet people, and stay in the right mindset and to be able to serve people. And we weren't able to go out and see people the old way. So we get to be adaptable, or using your second word, having dexterity in growing and moving my business to another level. And I think tongue-in-cheek here, Kellen Ann is an incredible creator of a wow experience. She does start off with creating cards that make people say wow. So if you're looking for, hey, Kellen, you're getting a plug here. But she has really some terrific creative cards. They're unique. They're not inexpensive in terms of you're looking at dollars and cents, but they're hugely valuable for the impact they have with people you send them to. And she's a wonderful gal out of California. And Randy, who was on earlier, or at least I popped him up, he's a road warrior, specializing in post-barn construction and a lot of roofing. He doesn't sell one at a time. He was the road warrior that represents the manufacturer or distributor to the end user. And I just want to give him a plug because they're two wonderful people that made an impact in my life, provided me with some mindsetness, hanging out with them on Mondays and Fridays in a mastermind group. So thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate that. Do you have one last sort of thing that you would like to share with the world from your experience?
Yeah, eat a giant bullfrog, a live bullfrog every day to start your day. I love what Mark Twain said almost 200 years ago. If you want to be successful in life, eat that giant live bullfrog, the one that's getting in the way, that you hate it, it's ugly, whatever. By doing that, you will free yourself up, because nothing else for the rest of the day will be as worse as that. And your actual day will be quite enjoyable, and you'll be free, and you'll get into flow.
Excellent way to tie that. So I'm going to end it on that, because that's brilliant. So I want to thank you for being a guest here today, being part of the Business Renovator and helping share some knowledge and content with the world out there. And how can they get hold of you? Well, let me go and put that up here. Hang on, let's put that up before we say goodbye to you. It's right here. His email is right here. So if you'd like to get a hold of Eric, certainly you can reach him at this email address here. It's a bit of a long one, but if you take your time, you can get it right. I get it right quite often. Again, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. It was great insights, and I love those 3 words.
Oh, thank you, Phil. I love being here today. I appreciate what you do for business. Thank you.
I'll catch you, buddy. So if you're watching this now, I appreciate you taking time to watch us and listen to us. If you want to know more information, or if you've got a question to ask a business coach, you can go to my website or email address is phil@coachphil.ca. The website is there below. If you like this, please share with other people. If you're watching on the replay, just hashtag replay. And if there's something else you'd like to learn about, or a question that you have that you haven't had the opportunities to get an answer for, fire it to me, and we'll see what we can do to find a subject matter expert as a guest to come and talk to that point. Thanks for being here. And remember, be wonderful, and spell wonderful with a U, because you are really wonderful.